G'day guys, welcome back. Here is our round 5 tipping for this week. I hope your team won last weekend. Please like and subscribe to the video. Also, make sure that you go over to Flash Crows and like and subscribe there as well. So I scored 8 this week and the Crow got 6. There was a couple of upsets. I was lucky enough to pick them. I nearly got the full 9, but GWS couldn't get over the line for me this week. But anyway, let's get stuck into it. Let's have a look at round 5. As I said last week in my video, round 4, you kind of get an idea where teams are and how they're playing. There's still a couple of iffies on a couple of teams. I've started with about 8 teams. I'm down to about 4 teams that are at a different tier now. But anyway, let's go to our first round. This is gather round, which is every team is playing in Adelaide. So our first game, which should be an absolute cracker, is on Thursday. We've got Adelaide Crows against Carlton. Both teams are playing really respectable football. Both teams are like for like, in my opinion. Adelaide is playing really well at the moment. Carlton, not so much, but they're doing enough and they're getting the W's next to their win column, which is great. Good to see that Kerno and Mackay are starting to work out the best way for them to play, and that's to kick it to each other. A bit like Jeremy Cameron and Hawken do at Geelong. Okay, so it's at Adelaide. Adelaide are flying at the moment, so I'm going to pick the Crows. I've got a lot of like for the Crows and the way that they're playing. I'm going to go 14 points. I think they've got a lot of young talent. They're working hard. They're tackling hard. I think they're number 1 in attack at the moment, which is fantastic for the Crows. So let's go to the Crows to beat Carlton there. Next game at Norwood Oval, which I have no idea where that is. But anyway, we've got the struggling Fremantle Dockers against the struggling Gold Coast Suns. So I actually picked against the Fremantle Dockers last week, and for a reason. They just can't. I don't know what's going on there. For the team that they were top 14 last year to winless, and I'm going to go against them again. I went halfway through last year. I said I'm never ever going to pick Fremantle again, no matter who I'm playing. I'm going to start doing that this year as well. I'm off them totally. I'm off the Suns as well. So I give the Suns a bit of a bit more credit than they deserve. But I'm going to pick the Suns here, and there's only one reason why I'm doing that, is that the Gold Coast Suns are the number 1 clearance team, and Fremantle are the worst clearance team. So if the Suns can actually get hold of the midfield, well, Fremantle are going to be in trouble again. So let's go to the Sunnies. That'll be my first upset for the round. Then we'll go to Adelaide Oval between Richmond and the Swans, both lost on the weekend. Richmond had a blistering third quarter. I think they kicked 11 goals or something stupid, 8 goals or something. But apart from that, they were pretty weak. And now they've lost Lynch, and they've also lost Nankervis as well. So they're definitely weakened. The Swannies had a bad loss against the Port. Port shouldn't have won that. The Swans should have won that. But there was a couple of controversial things in the game. But I can see the Swans beating Richmond quite convincingly. I don't see there's any way back for Richmond this year. I think they're an also round team. Swannies, I still think, are up in the top 4, maybe top 5 teams in the AFL at the moment. Then we go to the Lions against North Melbourne. North Melbourne are playing quite well, respectable for a young team. They're definitely trying harder, and they've got some good little players. But against the Lions should win this one quite easily. I'm a Lions supporter, so I'm definitely going to go the Lions. It doesn't matter who they play. But they should win by 50, 60 points. The Lions, if they're anywhere near where I think they should be, because the top four teams are dismantling North Melbourne. So I'm actually going to go out on a limb here. I'm going to bet Flash Crow's left nut on this one. This is locked in. I'm betting his left nut that the Lions win. Then we'll go on to Adelaide Oval on the Saturday. Melbourne against Essendon. So this is their first test to see Essendon against a decent team. Essendon are playing well. Okay, they're on fire, but they're coming up against an absolute fantastic team with Melbourne, who I rate as the first, number one team in the competition. So if they can knock over Melbourne, well then Essendon supporters, you're the real deal. If you can't, even you get flogged by 60 points, you'll put back in your place, which is about 10th, 11th, something like that. So definitely going to go Melbourne here, and Essendon don't want to have a massive blowout. They want to keep it as close as possible. Then on Saturday as well, this is the back-to-back game. So we're going to Port Adelaide and Western Bulldogs. Again, two like-for-like teams. Very difficult to pick this game. Some weeks they've been up, some weeks they've been down. Western Bulldogs have beaten us. And Port Adelaide have beaten us. So they get a bit of street cred for that. Adelaide Oval, the only thing that I'm thinking now is the home ground advantage. They've had 2 for 2 now, Port. They didn't play very well on the weekend, but they struggled to get over the line. This could go either way, but I'm going to stick with Port. I picked Port to make the 8, so they've got to win this one. Anytime you got to beat teams that are like you. So I'm going to go Port there. Our next game is the Cats against the Eagles. The Cats just destroyed the Hawks by 10 goals or something like that. But again, Hawks could have been 5 goals in front at the first turn. Could have been 6, really. They missed 3 sitters right in front of goal. But that's what you get from young players. And it was only in the third quarter that Geelong really took off. I actually turned it off at half time, and then I turned it back on at the final quarter and went, wow, what the hell happened? Geelong was 60 points in front. So against the West Coast Eagles, the depleted West Coast Eagles, you've got to go the Cats. But it just shows you the draw can be so important. So Cats were under the pump, and then the next 2 games it was Hawthorn, and now they've got West Coast Eagles. So these 2 wins are going to give them a better scoreline than what I think they're going to have. I want to see them play a decent team. I want to see them play Collingwood, or want to see them play the Swans, or play us, or something like that. But anyway, definitely the Cats in this one. Giants Hawthorn at Norwood Oval. Again, I'm actually going to go Hawthorn here. I actually quite like Hawthorn. I like what they're doing. I like the way that they're playing, even though they got smashed by Geelong. They're actually, they was just too young and too everything. But when they're playing the lower teams like Giants, they're actually quite competitive. So I'm going to go Hawks to beat the Giants. Giants are going into my Fremantle bucket. I've picked them twice this year already, and they've lost both times. So I don't think I'm going to pick them ever again for the year. So I'm going to go another upset with Hawthorn. Remember, guys, there's always a couple of upsets every round. I don't care. It's just trying to pick which games are going to be the upsets. But I'll go the Hawks. And then on our last game, we've got the Pies versus St Kilda. Again, this is another test for St Kilda. Now, the Lions picked apart the Pies. They put a bit of pressure on them. They put pressure on the Dacos brothers, and all of a sudden Collingwood didn't look so flash anymore. And I actually said it a couple of weeks ago in one of my videos. I said, I think when Richmond played Collingwood, I said if I was if I was Damien Hardwick, I'd put Shea Bolton on Nick Dacos, and I'd say, Shea, sit on him for 2 metres, and as soon as we get the ball, turn around, run the other way, and if they get the ball, run with him. So I think just putting that a bit of accountability in defence on those two, they're great players. They still get plenty of the ball, but just putting that bit of accountability on them is all you need to do. Because basically what they're doing is just putting in a fifth and sixth midfielder. They're just running in. So if you win the ball, just run the other way, and then all of a sudden the coach turns around and says, "Hey, you got to start defending this guy." But we saw what the Lions did, and that might be a bit of a template for other teams. St Kilda's playing really well, top of the ladder, 4 for 4. So who would have thunk that? Nobody. But except for me, I've picked them every week, so I've got them all 4 at the moment. And this might be another upset again, because they're number 1 in defence, they're number 1 in attack. So if they can keep doing that, and they've got lots of small little grunt players that could really keep Collingwood's attack down. And they're just on fire at the moment. I'm just thinking that maybe, I should pick Collingwood. Collingwood should win this on form. But again, it's in Adelaide Oval, so they're both away. I'm going to go St Kilda just for an upset. Plus, I don't like Collingwood. All right, so that's what we're going to go. So we're going Adelaide, Suns as an upset. Swans should be an easy win. Lions should be an easy win. Melbourne's an easy win. Port, bit of an upset for me. Cats an easy win. Hawks is definitely an upset. And let's put another upset in for St Kilda. If we have a quick look at the ladder, we've got St Kilda on top at 4 and 4. Like I said, they haven't really played anyone, but the teams they have played, they've been really going well. Carlton are up and flying at the moment. Melbourne is the team to watch. Essendon are going to hit a wall this week. Collingwood still playing well. I've still got them as the top 2 teams, the way that they move the ball. So if they can work out a way of stopping the stop, they'll still be somewhere around it. Still haven't lost faith in the Swannies. They're going along sweet at the moment, even if they're only 2 and 2. Adelaide Crows are definitely, I think if they win this game, they are top 8, if not starting to look at top 4. So that's how far they've improved. And we know every year that there's always a 13th, 14th, 15th team that kick themselves back into the top 8. Lions are a bit frustrating. We've had 2 great wins over the 2 best teams, and then 2 shocking losses against also round teams. North Melbourne are going to start struggling and dropping out. Port need to respond again. Like I said, I've got them in my top 8, so they need to respond. Bulldogs need to respond as well. Richmond, I can't see making the 8 anymore. Geelong can definitely still make the 8, but they're not going to make the 4. GWS, West Coast Eagles, Gold Coast Suns and Hawthorn, that's about where they will finish by the end of the year. So there you go. There's my tips. Like I always do, I'll put Flash Crow's tips down the bottom with his margin as well. Hopefully your team will win on the gather round on the weekend. Enjoy your tipping. Don't gamble too much. And we'll catch you in the next one. See you later.